What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Who You Got with
MELO
and RADO is the sports podcast where we talk about your favorite sports highlights, sports debates, and sports matchups. And we got a hell of a UFC weekend coming up, and I'm here to talk with my boy MELO about it. MELO, what's going on, man? How you doing today?
the long-awaited, hella exciting pound for pound baddest man in the world showdown. UFC
Mm-hmm.
270 is finally upon us. Man, we have been waiting for a while, man. First of main event of 2022, and you can't get any better than this, man.
Real, the first one, great to see it, and especially a heavyweight matchup like this. Obviously, two big championship matchups that we're here to talk about today. In UFC 270, the main card is looking pretty good, honestly. The overall the card is looking great. Obviously, you got some great names on there, but we're definitely here to talk about those two top, co-championship fights, and it's going to be a hell of a weekend, especially like you said, this type of fight we've been waiting for a while. Like the main event we've been waiting for a while. Obviously, we're talking about Ngannou and Gain, and the undercard, the co-championship event is Moreno versus Figueiredo 3. Obviously. So we'll definitely talk about those two. Yeah, third
You
time they
gotta love some trilogy. You can't go wrong with that.
tell you about it. So we definitely here to talk about that, right? I know you're excited about it.
No, that's a fact. This has been something that when that interim belt was created and Gang versus Lewis was made, I already knew Gang was going to win that. So I knew
Yeah.
that Gang versus Ngannou was inevitable. Obviously, we also got pretty much Moreno versus Figueiredo for the flyweight belt. The third time they're basically fighting in 2 years.
Yeah.
You expect both of them to know each other and bring their A game. So you honestly just can't go wrong with both those cards. So obviously that's what we're here to talk about. Honestly, we're just gonna talk about those two fights, really how much they mean, and the fact that they're the first two champs to go well, first two champs to go up in 2022 is let you know what type of year we're about to have, man. And I'm definitely excited, especially
And you
for the
got
fight.
two champions fighting each other. I mean, the two heavyweights, they each got championships, so pretty much
No,
three championships on the line.
exactly, exactly. I'll be honest. We'll talk about that a little bit once we get to that fight about why they created the heavyweight interim
Sure, yeah,
belt, all
yeah,
that, and if it should have been created. But honestly, what I want to start off with is 2021. Man, we definitely had a great year.
yeah.
Obviously, that was our first year doing the podcast, so we definitely did a couple of events for a majority of the year when it came to UFC fights for 2021. Obviously, at the end of the year, there was awards given out and a lot of honors, and I just want to take a few seconds to talk about those. Excuse me. So I want to go over the fan choice honors. Pretty much, there was knockout of the year. The
Right.
nominations were Kamaru Usman versus Jorge Masvidal 2, Rose Namajunas versus Zhang Weili 1. That was both at UFC 261. I'm gonna butcher this. Ignacio Bohemades versus Roosevelt Roberts, UFC Fight Night, Konya versus Gasolin, and Yuri Polkovic versus Dominic Reyes at UFC Fight Night, Reyes versus Polkovic. All of them are great knockouts, obviously.
Right.
My personal favorite, besides the Usman one, would have been the Yuri spinning elbow. Phew, that one was dominant. Obviously, the kick from Bohemondis, or whatever his last name is,
Oh,
was
Moni,
a
that was a
knockout.
crazy kick back, like back kick, crazy.
And then obviously we go to the same kick, uh, top of the tempo with Rose to
Yep.
get the title. So obviously, great knockouts of the year. The winner for the fan choice was my fan choice. Like I said, my backup would have been a Yuri, but the fan choice was definitely Usman versus Masvidal 2. The man knocked the spit off his head, and it was a great knockout. Which
Yeah.
one would you chose for that one? Who you
I
got?
mean, honestly, that you can't go wrong with a lot of them, but honestly, Yuri that Yuri versus Dominic Reyes, that was an insane fight. Like, I mean, I know a lot of people maybe are not
More knocked him out.
True, and a lot of people are not like, they're not too informed about this fight, maybe, or they're not just fans of these two guys because they haven't seen them on like a big stage, like a UFC number card. But they did fight in the UFC Vegas card, which that was an incredible fight. Obviously, that knockout was, the whole fight was bloody, crazy. They were getting hits on each other, but that knockout itself, it was just a crazy knockout, especially when slowing it down. I mean, literally, you saw the man's jaw just like move from one side to the other. So like, yeah, it was. I'm talking about Reyes. Obviously, he got knocked out that one. So it was a crazy one. Got to give it to Yuri on that one. It was definitely insane. He definitely he refused to stop to advancing in that fight. Because he was definitely, getting caught like moving forward in the first round, and he was getting hit a lot. And then second round, moved back, and then he chose his spots, started punching a little bit more. By that third round, he got him, knocked him out. It was a beautiful, really beautiful fight, honestly. And I don't know, what do you think about that one? Do you like that one too, or?
Nah, like second favorite. So like the way he was piecing them up before that, always pushing forward, bloody fight. Reyes just wouldn't go out.
Yeah.
But that elbow, that's what I'm saying. He wouldn't go out until that elbow, and then at that point, just cold. So obviously, great nominations. Glad I'm glad Usman won. He pretty much had a great year. So capping that series of those two fights with a knockout was nice.
That's for sure. I'm not mad at Usman winning for sure. I mean, he obviously had a great year. So for him to win, it's just a little extra little thing that he has, a little cherry on top that he's got for this year.
For a man who supposedly had no boxing skills and had no power, my man got knocked out of the year.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely stepped it up this year. I mean, especially fighting fights and championship contention fights, or not contention, championship. Defenses is what I meant to say.
No, for sure. So that was definitely good. The another fan choice award was submission of the year.
Yep.
Nominations were Kazmat Chimaev versus Yingling Ling to UFC 267. Teixeira versus Blackowitz 267 as well. Vincent Lecue versus Tyron Woodley in 260. And Moreno versus Figueiredo 2 and 263 for Moreno to get the belt. Moreno winning the belt was the submission. I think that was a second or third. I'm pretty sure it was third. So the first two rounds were good. Obviously, after that first fight being a draw, you can't go mad or you can't go wrong with the fans choosing that one. For me, I personally would have picked Chimaev versus your boy Lee, because that was just straight domination. Honestly, that was just straight domination. Just clear out the gate. There was no question about it. Obviously, all those submissions were good, but the fans chose Moreno. So I definitely would have chose that. Chimaev might get a shot at the belt this year if they let him fight Burns.
Right.
At some point, he might get a shot at the belt in the next, pretty much towards the end of the year. So we'll see. But I think definitely that was a good showing right there, dominant showing. So I'm glad all four of those people pretty much not only did good, two of them got belts from it. So it was definitely great choices for submission of the year. What about you? Who you got?
You could definitely make a strong case. In that Yingling fight, that was one of the best submissions. But honestly, I'm just gonna have to go with the fans on this one, man. I mean, the first fight that they had was obviously a draw, and honestly, we'll talk about them a lot more later because they are having the trilogy coming up. So I don't really want to, talk too much about them right now. But honestly, I got to give it to the fans with this one. I think they kind of made the right choice. I do think, coming into that fight, it was the favorite was, Figueiredo. So, you didn't think that Moreno was going to submit him. But I do think that was a beautiful submission by Moreno. Obviously, both of the guys are playing down low. So, they both know how to do that. And I do think that was one of the most beautiful ones that I've seen. I mean, you can make a strong case for a lot of the submissions though, and that's why it's tough for me to really judge. Submissions are like, unless you see like a really like a new submission that you see, like a new move, like a new choke or something, then it's really tough to judge because it's like are you like are you judging this on if you're losing the fight and then just come back and win and submit somebody, or if you're playing on the ground the whole time and then you submit them? I don't know what to really judge it by, but I do think that Moreno won.
Oh no, 100%. Obviously, they're getting the trilogy. 100%. This will be the last time either one of them gets a shot at the belt. I would assume like that's just 3 times in a row. Either way, we'll see what happens, but you pretty much can't go wrong with that.
Right.
So next up, we pretty much had debut of the year. That was another fan choice award, and that was Michael Chandler.
That's right.
Obviously, say 257. Terrence McKinney, 263. Alex Pereira, 268. And your boy Patty Pimlet in Brenson versus Till Fight Night. All 4 of those was great. The fans chose Chandler. I had to go with Chandler for such a highly touted champion from another organization. He honestly came in that first fight and pretty much destroyed the top contender. The fact that your name even gets you a shot, and you take that shot, you do what you're supposed to do, and then catapult right into a championship fight. I'll take that. Definitely can't. Come on, debut of the year, 100%.
Yeah.
What about you? What you got?
I mean, honestly, it's a really tough case to go against Chandler, man. It really is. Obviously, he had a pretty good year too. He definitely had a good year, but oh man, for me it's gonna be tough. I don't know. I kind of do want to go. I know it's the easy choice that I'm kind of going with. A lot of the fan or favorite votes, and maybe I shouldn't. But I mean, Chandler did have such a great year. How can you really go wrong with him? Man. If I was to make a case, I mean, man, I don't know.
How many people get a shot for the belt in the second fight?
That's what I was thinking. Like a guy that goes in so quickly, moves up in the ranks so fast, and actually really takes care of pretty much, going in from the bottom to the top so quickly. I mean, there's not many guys that are doing that. You thought like a guy like even Sean O'Malley had a chance to really push into that, into that league, but obviously he wasn't fighting nearly strong enough guys to really push into that. But I definitely think he wins it, Chandler.
Hey, no, you definitely can't go wrong with that. Obviously, he's gonna have such an interesting year coming up soon. Another fan choice, event of the year.
Right.
Now we had UFC 261, Usman versus Masvidal. UFC 267, Blachowicz versus Teixeira. UFC Fight Night, Holloway versus Rodriguez, Slugfest. And UFC 268, Usman versus Covington 2. It was clear split between Usman and versus Masvidal and Usman versus Covington 2. Usman versus Masvidal. We had the Usman knockout. We had Rose beating Wei Li. And we had Valentina beating Jessica Andrade with 3 belts up that night. Fantastic card. And then UFC 268, obviously Usman versus Covington. Rose versus Wei Li again. Rose won. And then Marlon Vera versus Frankie Edgar wasn't bad at all.
That was a good fight. It was nice.
Fight. And then obviously Fight of the Year nomination, Justin Gaethje versus Michael Chandler. So at the end of the day, that's the one that won. Just the fact it was so hard to choose because both of them, 2 of them was Kamaru and Rose.
Right.
Defending the belt. One of them was both of them. One of them on each one was Rose versus Wei Li.
Yep.
So you know what I'm saying. So that's the same fight. Takes each other out. Kamaru versus Covington. Kamaru versus Masvidal. Depending on who you hate more.
Right.
Your favorite. take those out.
True.
Then once you got the belt, Valentina versus Andrade was a dominant performance. And on the other end, you got Fight of the Year, Gaethje versus Chandler. You know, so I'll give it to UFC 268 because the Fight of the Year, Gaethje versus Chandler. Plus, you have Vera versus Edgar, which is obviously why the fans chose that as well. UFC 268 was the winner. Clear favorite. Obviously, you have 4 fights on that main card. That was fantastic. And that was around my birthday, so that was
I know, right? I remember that you were loving that, and it was it was a great fight night that night. I remember watching that with you. It was beautiful.
Yeah, Canelo fighting that night too.
Yeah.
Your boy Trevor Whitman had 3 fighters on the main card and went 3-0. I was loving it. I was loving it.
It was beautiful.
Yeah. So what about you? Who you got for event of the year?
I mean, you can't really go wrong with that Masvidal Usman fight. That was probably one of the greatest fights, we've seen all year. But, for me, I would probably have to go with somebody like Olivier Chandler. That was a good event too. Obviously, depends on what type of style you like. I do like that, that jiu-jitsu style. I do like seeing that more Brazilian jiu-jitsu fight. And obviously, Chandler is a more of a knockout or stronger, knockout punching boxing type of guy. So it was a differentiating of styles. It was cool to see like them match up like that, and I do like that fight a lot. Definitely enjoyed it. And honestly, like that's what I look for, like in UFC fights, like styles that are interesting to me, especially like this one coming up is definitely going to be up there for maybe event of the year. We'll see. But honestly, that's for me. That's who it is. Honestly, you could even throw in like I know the McGregor fight wasn't it wasn't what everyone expected it to be, but just the leading up to it and everything, and even that first like 30 seconds and that first like minute, everyone was like so hyped for that you could even like I don't want to say it was like it was like definitely a big moment of the year, for sure. Not event of the year, but big moment.
That the UFC has been doing a very good job setting up good matchups,
right?
Especially when fans want to see. Sometimes we get started from a few, but there's a few we're getting this year already. So they definitely do try. That's the one thing I'll say with Dana. Sometimes the rankings don't make sense, but for the most part, we do have the top competitors fighting the top competitors. Just sometimes you do give people a pass. But either way, exactly. Either way, the UFC is definitely going to give you good fights. So the last fan choice award we have is Comeback of the Year. I'll be honest, I don't even know why they had other nominees for this one. Like,
I know, right?
They were good. Like, come on. You had Anthony Hernandez versus Rodolfo Vieira, 258. Devlis V. Merab versus Marlon, 266. And Marquez versus Patolo, 258 as well. But at the end of the day, what the fans chose, and the reason why we're choosing so much with the fans, because we are fans at the end of the day. These are ones that we love. So the ones the fans chose was Charles Olivier versus Michael Chandler for the belt. Pretty much a lightweight vacancy. Olivier pretty much looked done for first round. I don't know how he literally made it out of that and then came out and finished his motherfucker in the second round. So 100% 262. Olivier versus Chandler was the winner for Comeback of the Year.
I mean, yeah, you really can't go wrong with that. I mean, that was a crazy fight. Obviously, so many people were looking at, both of these guys to just land so many hits on each other. But, there was that Murmero fight that was, he came back in his fight versus I can't even say his name. Oh man, Merchariot. But yeah, that was a good fight too.
His last name.
Yeah, I mean, obviously these Russian and Ukrainian last names sometimes it's tough. I mean, what can I say? I got a Bulgarian last name, so mine is similar to theirs. But that Murmero fight, he definitely came back in his fight. A lot of people, were counting him out, and he definitely came back. So I do believe he should have got an honorable mention in there.
I know, 100%, man. That's the thing about fighting is they always have a chance to pretty much like you never know, they might look sloppy, but as long as they got consciousness, they got to fight like venom. So that's why I love that. That's even an award and obviously you got great nominations. You know, so those are all the Player Choice Awards, and then you have two Presidential Choice Awards,
Right.
which was Performance of the Year and Fight of the Year. So obviously, let's go over those two. We had Performance of the Year nominations uh, were Rose versus Whaley, 261. Usman versus Masvidal, 261. Moreno submit Figueredo, 263. The first two were knockouts. Pena submits Nunez, 269. And the same card, Oliveira submit and Poirier. So top five fights, performance of the year. I'm pretty sure who won again?
Wasn't it? It was.
That
Sorry,
was the Pena.
that was
Yeah.
Pena. Yeah, it was Pena fight versus the. Yeah, I mean that.
Performance of the year.
I mean, come on now. Like, if you look at that fight itself, I mean, she came in as one of the biggest upsets of, I guess, of UFC history. I mean, the second biggest upset, really. But if you look at it in the eyes of people, she was the biggest upset. I mean, the betting public had her at like 600. Obviously, the biggest upset in UFC history was 800. I think that she was most likely, like, coming into that fight against Nunez. She was definitely one of the most underrated fighters coming in there. Nobody gave her a chance, and she definitely showed off what she had that first round, and then just she stayed with her. She definitely got hit a lot too in that first round, but she stayed with a big girl like Nunez, and then obviously that second round showed what she could do on the ground, and came out with that title. I mean, you definitely gotta give that as a great performance, and honestly, not just for this year. I think that's gonna go down in the history books of the UFC. You're gonna be talking about that fight for a long time, as far as like a performance that unexpected performance, but not only that, like not just the underdog story, but just I mean, somebody that was so dominant, so dominant. You look at them as the GOAT. It's like it's literally like somebody unknown beating Jordan. Like you got a G leaguer coming into the league and beating Jordan at his prime. If they were playing, but that's what happens in the UFC. And that's why I love it. Is because you can never expect anything. What about you?
No, 100%. I mean, that's the one you. That's the one you got to choose. I mean, obviously you got the biggest underdog, or pretty much I think second biggest underdog in history. I think it was like a 575.
Yeah.
Pretty much to a negative 850. So that it was pretty much huge. Even then, Nunez clearly was dominant in the first round. I'll be honest. So it didn't look good for Pena.
Yeah.
And then she came out, chipped away. Just I don't know how she just demolished that gas tank and then just finished her out. So yeah, it was a slugfest. They were both just going at it, and I love it because she was just straight just going forward. And like you said, to go against someone like Nunez like that, clear dog in her. Obviously won the belt from it. She showed that she got power. She don't look like much, but hey, she'll hit you right.
And
And obviously,
too.
exactly. So 100% performance of the year, Juliana Pena, submitting Amanda Nunez in UFC 269. You can't go wrong with that. Absolutely love it.
Not at all. I love
So
that.
the second one and the last one we got for awards or nominations and honors is the fight of the year. So we got Max Holloway versus Yuri Rodriguez and Fight Night Holloway versus Rodriguez. Reyes versus Yuri and Fight Night Reyes versus Yuri. Volkanovski versus Ortega in 66. Gaethje versus Chandler in 68. And Jan versus Sanhagen in 67. Obviously, we brought up both these people multiple times in the last few months, and I think we even brought up this fight already. Gaethje versus Chandler, UFC 268 was an absolute slugfest. Pretty much, if I'm not mistaken, Chandler was winning that first round. I actually caught Gaethje a couple times. Yeah. Massive shots. Really looked like Gaethje was out, but obviously both of them are made for that type of fighting. Pretty much came back the second round. Somehow he found a way to just start landing cleaner shots. And honestly, a couple leg kicks, and they didn't really do damage per se, as in he got knocked out, but he definitely was just getting hit, you know. And then when he got to the last round, uh, he was already losing, and at that point, he just kept losing. He
True.
decided to show off, showboat. A lot of people are upset at how he handled that
Change.
last one. But the whole time he was still getting punched in the face and still in the fight and still sending shots back. So it was definitely a clear fight of the year when you got two gladiators in the middle going like that. Obviously, you have a couple of those fights like the ones we just mentioned. Another good one I probably would have picked second would have been Holloway versus Rodriguez.
I like that one.
Holloway,
I like that one too, man.
Holloway is just his output is crazy. Obviously, he considers himself the best boxer in the UFC, so he likes to throw. So yeah, definitely good options, good choices. But Gaethje versus Chandler won.
Yeah, I mean that was a great fight, and obviously Gaethje wasn't nearly winning in that fight, and obviously he had momentum towards the end, and that's how he really won it, is that momentum. And but honestly, for me, I like the other fight in UFC 266, Volkanovski versus Ortega. I thought that was a good fight for me, man. I really thought that was a real bloody fight. Obviously, both guys were getting hit, but it was just like a slugfest. Obviously, both these guys are a lot slimmer, so they're faster. They were both trying to get takedowns, but neither one of them could. So they basically had to either get low kicks or they had to fight up top and start boxing with each other. Because every time somebody would try to get a takedown, the other guy would do a bridge and not let him get down on him. So I thought that fight was.
That's a great fight.
Yeah, I thought it was a great fight. I mean, obviously the really, really bloody fight too. And then when it's a slugfest like that, you definitely enjoy those type of fights. So for me, that's definitely honorable mention for sure.
No, 100%. All of them did great. The fact that we had that much of a great 2021. No nominations for the McGregor fights versus Poirier, which is great fights.
No, I gave it an honorable mention.
Yeah, 100%. Both of them. Because even though the last one ended in injury, Poirier had a hell of a first round.
That's what I'm saying. Even that first minute, people are so excited about that. It's just the excitement around that. Got to give it something.
Obviously, they didn't do no nominations for.
No Sugar Shane O'Malley.
Yeah, he had a couple good fights. No heavyweight nominations in there. No for the knock on of Stipe.
And no one got him. I mean,
Adesanya could have did his he demolished Burns.
Yeah, I was looking for Adesanya somewhere in there too, and I was surprised he didn't get any. But I mean, obviously,
had a great year. Obviously, got fighter of the year.
And I think they're trying to give some of the younger guys, some of the guys that are under ranks a little bit more love, because obviously the top guys already have a lot of shine and people already know about them. So as of right now, they want to bring some of the lower guys a little bit of shine too. Even though obviously some of these guys we're talking about, they're definitely not lower guys. They've been champions too. So.
No, 100%. So like I said, UFC 270. The way that this is about to start off, we already got Masvidal versus Covington set up. We got a couple good cards and talks in the way, so it's definitely about to be an amazing year. I mean, when you come down to who's gonna take the belt, or who's gonna win in the rematch versus Sterling versus Jan for the bantamweight belt.
That one too, beautiful.
Whoever wins this flyweight belt this week is obviously moving on from this trilogy, and that's the exciting division. Volkanovski and Ortega, they just won, or they just fought for the belt, and that's the division where you got Yair Rodriguez and Max Holloway. That's about to be an exciting division this year. Oliveira is trying to set his foothold, the lightweight division, which is going to be the most exciting division this year. With all the top people up there with Gaethje, Poirier, Islam, Chandler, Ferguson, Hooker, so many top names. Obviously, Kamaru Usman's already done walk the board. At this point, what's he to do? Kobe and Masvidal, neither one of them are getting the shot again. They both lost twice. So at this point, the champ might fight 2 or 3 times this year. Who is he taking on? You know what I'm saying? So we'll definitely see. Obviously, I hope Leon Edwards gets his shot. Then you got Bilal Muhammad trying to get up there, especially Gilbert Burns trying to get another shot again with Stephen Thompson up there as well. Israel Adesanya, same thing.
The big boys are starting to get in there in the UFC. Like
now we getting up there. That's what I love about welterweight and middleweight. Both those champions walked their division already. So what's next for them? We really got to see something new. So that's what I'm saying. Same with Israel Adesanya. He walked through everybody. So now he's about to fight Whitaker again. That's another event coming up already planned. What's next for him? Vittori, Cannonier, Brunson, Costa. What's happening there? Darren Till, obviously. Then the light heavyweight to share. Don't got that much long left. Who's gonna that division's been pretty much in chaos and John Jones left. No one knows what's happening there. You got Jan, Yuri, Anthony Smith, Thiago Santos, Alexander Rockets, and then obviously the heavyweight division. We got one belt being united this weekend, and then after that, you still got Stipe, Derek Lewis, Curtis Blades, obviously a bunch of other people. So it's hectic. Obviously with the females, Valentina, it's over there with the flyweight. Rose got the strawweight. Pena versus Nunez for the bantamweight's already happening, and then Nunez has a featherweight, and at this point, there ain't even no competition in featherweight for her.
Man, honestly, yeah. I mean,
but they're gonna set at that.
I wonder if she's gonna go back and fight anybody in featherweight before she goes in and tries to get her other belt back. You know, from Pena.
And that's the whole point. I don't even know who they're gonna I don't know if they want to just try to throw someone at her because they're gonna try to force someone like Holly Holm or someone or Misha Tate.
She's a little older, man. I don't know. Holly's a little.
You know what I'm saying? There ain't no one to fight at featherweight, so we'll see with that. But either way,
yeah, I think it might be a number 2 for that Pena fight. We'll see.
It has to. See, at this point, that's the only thing she's focused on.
For sure.
So we'll definitely see. Obviously, we just named off all divisions, all the contenders, and what's in store for 2022. So it's about to be a hell of a year, and that's what brings us to the reason why we're here. Nagano versus Gain, Figueiredo versus Moreno 3. 3. 2 belts or 3 belts. But like I said, we'll talk about that third belt in a little bit. So let's start off with the first championship fight that's coming up. Main card, UFC 270, Brandon Moreno versus Deiveson Figueiredo.
Yeah, I mean,
flyweight title. This is about to be big, man. The first fight ended in a draw.
Exactly.
The second fight, Brandon Moreno looked honestly a lot better. It seemed like he outclassed Figueiredo the whole first round, second round, got the submission, and now this is about to be a third fight. So honestly, they both have such high knowledge of what each other want to do in that octagon. I feel like Brandon Moreno just really showed his stuff in the last 2 fights. From the first one in the draw. A lot of people obviously thought he won, and some people thought that.
That's true,
draw. Clearly, people are split.
Nobody likes to see that in UFC, man.
No one. I promise you, I never want to sit there and watch the fight. Like if I see the draw, I'm like, all right, I can maybe understand. But if you had to ask me, I thought so and so won.
No, at that point, I say, come on, 5 more minutes or 3 more minutes. Let's go. Like, that's what I say. I say overtime, that's what they need to put in UFC.
But
they got to put in like a minute and a half overtime or something. If the judges can't see enough, they're in a draw, then they got to put a minute and a half overtime or something because nobody likes that draw.
No, 100%. So coming into the third, Brandon is the favorite now, clear. He was the underdog of both 2. He's fast. He's faster, I believe. He's stronger, I believe. He's shown that he can take the shots. Now, mind you, Deiveson's 100% a knockout artist, so he's strong as well. So that's why I said they both sat there and just exchanged in the pocket, especially last fight. But obviously, Brandon was a little bit faster with those combos and was catching them, and obviously just and then he was dropping them and being more successful with the wrestling. Besides the submission game, at this point, Brandon's looking a lot better, a lot fresher. He's a little bit younger. He's stronger. He's faster. Pretty much like he just looks like the clear favorite. Now, mind you, he's not a scrub, and there's no scrub in Figueiredo. So this trilogy shouldn't disappoint. It's gonna be a great high output, hella grappling, a few submissions, hella combos coming from both. They both love the box, and pretty much it's gonna go, I believe, 3+ until someone folds. And at that point, someone's gonna find a way to make someone make a mistake, and pretty much, I think that someone who's gonna fold is Figueiredo. I have to go with the favorite, man. That first one was a draw. I personally thought that Brandon won, but it was a draw, and that draw just came in that last few like last minute of that last round. The second one, Brandon outclassed him all 3 rounds. And like I said, Brandon knows what it takes to stay up there, even though Figueiredo is going to be classy. I think he did. Obviously, we'll say what you got to say. But I definitely got like a 3rd-round KO. As long as he don't get submitted, I'll go with the 3rd-round KO for the baby assassin, though. So I'm definitely excited for this. I know he's going to try to get submissions, but I think Figgy's going to be aware of that. So I think it's just going to come to the point where they both fight each other to pure exhaustion into the 3rd round, and he's just going to knock him out, whether it's ground and pound with a TKO or an actual knockout. I think it's going to happen in at least a 3rd, probably 4th, but I'm going to go with 3rd. So as long as he hold that chin down, we in there, baby.
Right. I mean, you make some good points, especially, I mean, if he could definitely keep it, especially keep it away from that submission, I definitely think that it could last, the whole 3 round. I mean, I think it's a 5-rounder. This is a 5-rounder, so I think it could last the whole 5 rounds. But is that what you said? You said it could last the whole 5 or no? Knockout at 3.
Yeah. Way too much.
Yeah.
So someone's gonna just fold. Someone's gonna get knocked out or get a submission.
So that's kind of where I see it. So even though the previous fight, obviously Moreno did submit Figueiredo, the way I see this fight is a little different. I definitely seen a lot more from Figueiredo recently, especially him coming into camp. He's been working on his submissions a lot more, and he was a submission king. He brings down people too. It's not like he doesn't submit people either. So I definitely think this is going to be more of a ground and pound fight for me. I definitely disagree with you. There's gonna be more of a stand up fight. I think that that first fight definitely was, but the second fight you can see they both wanted to get on the ground more. Obviously, you got to give it to Moreno. He definitely looked like the better guy in the ground at that point in that second fight. But I do believe that first round was Figueiredo. Like he definitely was winning. He did get a few punches, plus he got that takedown in the first round. Obviously, once you got a takedown, I think he lost control in the once the takedown happened. But I do believe that he was like in control for a second of that fight. More in a second, like he was definitely in control for half of the first round of that fight. That second fight. As of this fight, I do think it's going to be a little more different. I don't think it's going to be a stand-up fight. I do think, obviously, the beginning of the fight, they're going to feel each other out. That first round is going to take a little while. It's going to take at least till that second minute, second and a half minute, till they start try to taking each other down. Maybe till the second round. But I do believe that starting that second round, they're going to start taking each other down to try to get more control, get submissions. They're both going to be getting tired. They're both going to be getting punches and elbows on each other. Depends on who's on top, obviously, gets more control. Because they're both good. They're both good in the ground. They really are. But the thing with this one, I just think that the way, Figueiredo, he just got a new coach. He just got a new coach that helps with the submissions. And recently, he showed some stuff on social media of him doing some. He was doing different twists on the ground. Doing different grapples on the ground. Like he was showing off a little stuff on Instagram. I mean, showing off, and that kind of shows you that's kind of like what he's trying to do in this fight. I mean, maybe doesn't. But for me, it's a projection on what he's trying to achieve in this fight. I think. I definitely think it's gonna be a more ground and pound fight, and for that reason, I actually got this. I got the underdog in this one, man. I know a lot of people don't really believe in Figueiredo. He never really. I mean, he had to draw. I think in this one, the way he wins is going to be a submission. And the thing that I do agree with you, I think I do agree on that third round. I think I agree with you. It's going to be a third round submission for me, though. I think like that first round, they'll be feeling each other out. By the second, they'll start bringing each other to the ground and start elbowing each other. But by that third round, I do believe that, I think that Figueiredo's figured it out now. He's figured out Moreno. If it's a stand-up fight, Moreno has a lot more experience on the stand-up fight, and he has more reach. Obviously, he's 5'7", and he has more reach on Figueiredo, so he's definitely the guy that could beat him on a stand-up fight. So I do think that's the reason why the only way that Figueiredo wins is takes to the ground, gives that submission in that third round. That's what I got it.
Hey, no, 100%. Like I said, with the output that both of these fighters give, there's not much that indicates they will make it past that third round. So
I know, right? So fast. So many punches thrown and like takedowns. They do a lot of takedowns. They like to get on the ground too, and obviously once you're on the ground and you get control, it's a lot of energy exerted.
You get tired, 100%. So I got Moreno with the third round knockout. You got Figueiredo with a third round sub.
Yeah, man.
Honest, I'll be mad either way. So it's crazy because if Brandon wins and that's draw one win, clearly
better. But here's the thing, though. If it is possible, if Figueiredo does win, then it is a win-win draw. And I mean, each guy has a win and then a draw. So at that point, do you, possibly have them go in a fourth fight? We could talk about that in the future. But it's just
about that right now. That's what I want to lead into. What's the future for the flyweight title? Well, like I said, with Brandon winning, it's clear that he'll move on.
Right.
But if Davison wins, do you think there's a fourth fight?
So that's my thing. Like in the UFC, like it's not usually that you get that fourth fight. You usually get a trilogy. Everyone knows about that trilogy, because obviously it's usually it's never usually a draw in that first fight. So usually who wins those two fights. 2 over 1 is better than who's better than 1. So obviously who's the better fighter. For me, this fight, I think it would deserve that fourth fight if Figueiredo obviously wins, and if he wins in that submission matchup or that fashion, the same fashion that Moreno beat him that first time. So or that in that second fight, but I think that would deserve a fourth fight, even though like a lot of a lot of fans, they wouldn't want to see like the same guys keep fighting. But I think that this type of fight, if they're this close, especially like if they're just this close and submitting each other, not like it's not. And the first one was a draw for a reason. Like they were feeling each other out. It was a slower fight, a lot slower in the beginning. They didn't even get a punch, I think, in the first like minute and a half. So it was definitely like a lot slower fight. I do remember that. So now that they actually figured each other out, they definitely want to get in and fight more and get closer to each other and get on the ground and figure each other out, see who can take more control. That's why these fights are interesting. So for me, I do think it's a fourth one. What about you?
Nah, honestly, 100%. Pretty much. So here's why. You said that fans don't want to see the fourth fight. Unfortunately, when it comes to the small boys, especially at flyweight at 125, the smallest division, fans don't care about them. You had Demetrius Johnson, the first one to win that belt in absolute dominant fashion. Held it for such what was once considered, and probably is or might consider the most dominant reign, 2,142 days running that belt, and everyone knew who he was. Then you got Henry Cejudo holding it down for 574 days. A lot of people, we knew who he was. We loved him. I'll be honest, after that, nobody cared about that division until Figueiredo took that belt.
Yeah. And then after that, Moreno.
Right now, there's still no one cares about in that division. Third ranked, is Askarov, 13-0-1. But in the UFC, he's 3-0-1. I don't think
He did
he
just
gets.
come in. Yeah.
Yeah. Alexandre Pantoja probably does. Cause he's 8-3 in the UFC, and he's on a 2-fight win streak. So I think he might get a shot next. Then we got Kai Car-France, who just knocked out Cody Garbrandt, and both of them get a shot
looking good.
next.
He was looking good.
Exactly. So, but either way, I don't think none of the one of them are as much as a draw as Davison versus Brandon
That's
Ford.
what I was gonna say, and I think even Kai Car-France, I think he's still a fight away from that championship belt. Like, exactly. So like, if
championship ready.
If you were to have that fight, it would have to be another one. If Figueiredo has to find a way to win in this fight, he has to. Otherwise, like both of these guys, you were right about this though. Like they exert so much energy. I just read the stat that Moreno has decisions only 26% of the time, Figueiredo only 15% of the time. So this is not really going to go to decision most likely. When they had their draw, like I said, it was the first time they were fighting. They were figuring each other out, and it wasn't a championship fight. Whereas this is a 5-round fight. That was a 3-round fight. So it's a lot easier to have a draw in that fight.
Like obviously, there's Brandon's 5'7", Figueiredo's 5'5", 125 for both. Reach is only 2 inches apart at 70 and 68. 70 for Brandon, and then the leg reach is the same at 38 inches. They're like almost exact replica of each other, and they just love to pretty much cause pain. And like I said, they love boxing, but they're so well rounded at everything. It's ridiculous to fight, and obviously they fight each other. 2 times now? So
yeah, man, it's gonna be a good one, and that's why I wouldn't be mad if either one wins. And like I said, like
I'll be honest. I hope Figueiredo win. I don't want him to win, but I only hope he wins just for the fact that we get a 4th one.
That's what I was gonna say. I do hope he wins. I wouldn't mind if Moreno wins either, because I think he's a good champion. He's showed that he's shown a lot of love for Mexico as well. He loves his country, and showing that he's the first Mexican champion in the UFC. So it's definitely like something for him to to showcase. But I do think that this fight would be great to have a 4th one, and especially a fourth one for a championship belt again.
No, 100%. So obviously that's just the first belt of the night, and you can't go wrong with that. Lord knows what that division holds. I can't even give you a clear favorite on who's gonna win or who's gonna fight if Brandon wins next, because that division, like I said, it's so hard to tell with the flyweights. But more than likely, it's gonna be Askarov, which they like him. He's one of those people who's 3-0 in the UFC. He beat Benavidez. He beat Pantajo, and he beat Tim Elliott. So they're probably gonna give him a shot. If not, then Pantajo deserves a shot, and then we'll see. If not, then you got Kai France and Cody. But with the 2-fight losing streak, I don't think Cody gets a shot anytime soon this year. So we'll definitely see.
True that.
We'll definitely. But obviously, we already know what we're here for.
Exactly.
The tail of the tape.
The championship
match versus Cyril Bongaman game. Both of them dominant 6'4", absolute disgusting specimen. Nagano's is 250, Gaines 245.
By the way, real first question: are they real humans? Like, is this reality? Like,
they don't even talk like real humans. Like their accents are.
Yo, give me their stats real quick, cause like this doesn't make sense to me. Like how you can be this big and this strong.
6'4", 250 for Nagano, 245 for Gain, 83-inch for Nagano, 81-inch for Gain, 45.5 leg reach for Nagano, 42 for Gain. Nagano's just a little. He weighs 5 pounds more, just a little longer.
Just got a little advantage on the leg reach and that arm reach. 2 inches.
The biggest physical specimen, like when it comes to like, there ain't no way in hell that this man was made from like humans. You know what I'm saying? Now, mind you, Cyril Gain is 100% cut up, strong, 245, lean, quick, fast, efficient. Like, it makes no sense that someone who's 6'4", 245 can move like that. So 100%. This is about, I mean, the heavyweights, man. This is about to be some fireworks.
So I think we've been waiting for a fight like this, a heavyweight fight like this, for a long time. I mean, I know the last fight the Ngannou fought, we weren't looking at it like this. I mean, the last few, honestly, and you can even say the last few heavyweight fights that the UFC's had, are definitely not as big as this one. This is probably one of the biggest heavyweight fights they've had in years, if you think about it.
Oh, yeah, no, it 100% is. Honestly, I'm thinking of the most recent ones we had recently.
And I mean, obviously, both of these guys are coming in with a championship belt, so obviously one of them is an interim belt. I mean, I don't know how much you give credence to that. But another thing is, one of these guys are coming in undefeated, and Ngannou, he got those losses when he was very young in the UFC. So do you really even look at those? So really, you can look at both of these guys' careers as the past 5 years, or sorry, the past 3.5 years, they've been undefeated. Past 3.5 years.
100%. They both have been very dominant recently. Obviously, both came from the same training camp, so that's why it's such a big story. I'm pretty sure Gain is still with those same trainers.
Yeah.
Nagano has moved on. So it's definitely the story is crazy. The heavyweight belt's crazy. Nagano didn't want to fight Derek Lewis in Houston, Derek Lewis' hometown.
Yeah.
I think about 6 months after. I think it was like 3 or 4, which was, I'll be honest, probably a little short. That's talked about this before. It was like 3, 4 months. I'll be honest, it might have been short. Like, I know some fighters who fight every 6 months. Even belt holders who fight every 6 months. You know what I'm saying? Absolutely, but I know Derek Lewis was ready to fight, and Dana wanted to get that Houston event with Derek Lewis in it. But Nagano didn't sign the contract, so he pretty much allowed Gain to get the Derek Lewis fight, make an interim heavyweight belt. Here's my point. I don't understand what was the point of making an interim title if the next fight was gonna, like, you already knew whoever won versus Gain versus Lewis was gonna fight Nagano anyway. But I think it forced Nagano because he was trying to negotiate with the John Jones and really play some cards.
That's what I was going to say.
If you won't fight, then there's someone else with the belt who's going to basically be the title holder.
I agree, but I don't think that it was Ngannou's fault, and I don't think he wasn't ready to fight. I think he was ready to fight. I think it was Dana who was waiting until John Jones' answer. That's why he created that interim, just to have, the fans still, be interested in that heavyweight division. And then even if Ngannou somehow did fight Jones, let's say he lost, you would still have that interim division, that interim championship that you can have people fight for. So it's interesting how he did, have that. I don't think it was Ngannou's fault. I think Ngannou was ready. Listen, I think Ngannou would have fought Derek Lewis, not necessarily 4 months, but I think if you would have gave him 6 months, he would have fought him. Because, I mean, if you think about it, Ngannou hasn't fought since March, and he would have definitely taken a fight around November. I think he did want to wait a little longer because he was looking at Dana. He was looking at Dana to possibly have a African, a UFC in Africa. But since COVID happened, all that, it really messed everything up. Obviously, you have 3 African champions: Usman, Adesanya, and Ngannou. And Ngannou.
Funny though, once COVID hit, they gave up that Africa thing. That Africa thing literally down the drain until 2025. I promise you, no one's thinking about Africa.
Listen, I totally agree with you. But this is my thought. He was thinking this in 2020 in March. This is his last fight, if you remember. And I mean, obviously things didn't really shut down until that March of 2020. So that was his last fight. And well, it was 2021. I'm sorry, his last fight was 2021. But he was thinking that in 2021.
I don't think he was thinking about Africa. I think he just didn't want to fight Derek Lewis so soon.
Cool. I mean, I think if he would have fought Derek Lewis, he would have easily beat him. You don't think so?
I do too. That's the whole point. I know Daryl. I'm pretty sure when the Houston location was set, Dana wanted to set a heavyweight fight with Derek Lewis, and I'm pretty sure they were still having these negotiation issues because that would have been his last fight.
Right. Got you.
And that would have been his championship. At that point, he could have been knocked out. Right. So he was like, all right, well, I want this, and this coming up. And then it was like, nah, we could talk when the contract's over. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Right. He wanted that big fight.
This fight is 4 months. It's too soon. Then I was like, all right, well, that's fine. Because he already started having these negotiation issues with the John Jones issue.
That's a great point.
So it's already seen for last year how Francis and Francis team, and he don't like Francis team, and he already publicly said things about each other. So he already last year we've been going through negotiations. If you don't want to take this fight because it's your last fight, then that's fine. We're gonna make another belt. And
that is a great point.
Dana forced his hand.
I do agree. I do agree with you slightly on that. I do think that Dana definitely forced his hand after. I mean, but one thing is, usually you can't force Dana's hand though.
How someone win a belt and you make an interim title belt 4 months after he fight? That's ridiculous.
I don't think you can force Dana's hand because I think, I mean, Dana's gonna do what he wants anyways, and he's done that before. He's made belts before, like interim belts to hold it down for people, obviously, or if people are obviously even people that just leave for a while and then come back. I do think that's a great point with the Ngannou contract. This is his last fight in the UFC contract, and I do think you're right. He didn't want to have the last fight be against a guy like Lewis, where it wasn't going to be as I don't know, maybe as huge as this fight is.
Or at the end of the day, also one of the only people to knock him out. At the end of the day, you don't want to fight against Lewis, but Ngannou is so Gain. So Gain will keep his distance and technically outpoint you all night. Ngannou would have played Derek Lewis' game, and that could. I'll be honest, for Ngannou, he didn't want to take that risk trying to set something up.
You know what? Maybe, but I do think that this is different in Ngannou that we're looking at, and I do think that he would have taken care of business against a guy like Lewis. I mean, I think he learned a lot of things in those last 3 years.
That right hand, because nine heavyweights out of 10 won't try to outpoint another heavyweight.
I agree with you, but I think he definitely learned how to move with his feet a lot better, and he learned how to play defense a lot better in the last 2 years. And he obviously now that's why he's a champion, and that's why he's defended his title already once. And this is his second title defense. I mean, we're looking at this. Let's talk about this fight a little bit. I mean, what do you see in this Ngannou versus Gain fight? I mean, what is your projection for this fight, and who do you got winning as well?
Man, this one's been hard because it's when it comes to these fights, heart versus mind. Obviously, I'll be honest. Ngannou is a favorite. Gain is the underdog. Ngannou is a physical specimen.
It's the opposite, bro. It's the opposite. I checked Vegas. Yes.
No, that's what I meant.
This is
Ngannou is the underdog because he's a physical specimen. He has power, but Gain has more skill with grappling, more technical, more accuracy, better submission, better kickboxing. Gain's the whole package. Now, obviously, Vegas.
Real quick though. This is one of the first times that you have the actual heavyweight champion as an underdog. Even though you do have an interim champion like in Gain, this is one of the first times it's ever happened in UFC history that you have a heavyweight champion as an underdog in this fight. So, I mean, crazy.
No, 100%. Like, the odds are definitely hard to bet against. I'll be honest, a lot of fans got it going Ngannou KO.
Yeah.
A lot of fans
got it the opposite. Yeah.
The betting that's what I'm saying. Betting is basically the mind and the fans are the heart. The betting has to take into account Gain is just so many skills. Like 10-0, he's shown what he could do. He can outpoint. He's pretty much like, now people hate on Anthony Joshua because he lost his belts, but Anthony Joshua is a specimen when it comes to someone who's that tall, strong, quick, agile, big. And they do what they need to do when it comes to technicality. So Gain is like hey, even Ngannou was saying he's the best kickboxer in the UFC. So when it comes to them big men, he knows what he's doing. So I definitely love that Gain has those skills. But most fans think Ngannou is going to go out there and find a way to to knock him out like the predator that he is. I remember this last year thinking, it's hard to bet against Ngannou in any fight. Obviously, I knew about Gane. I didn't know how close Gane was. When we was talking about Ngannou and Stipe and all that,
Man.
I'll be honest, I didn't know how close Gane was to a champion. I didn't think he was going to be this good.
I remember talking about that fight, and
we talked about it, but he was like 8-0. When we started
I remember talking about that fight. I even said, I was like, there's not that many heavyweights in this.
He still had Greg Hardy. He still had.
But Greg Hardy wasn't close. Somebody like Lewis, like it was literally between like Lewis and Gane. It was one of those guys. So whoever won that fight, like you said earlier, whoever won that fight was gonna take that heavyweight.
That would have been Stipe's third trilogy, fucking heavyweight.
I mean, yeah.
He split with. So I'll be honest, I didn't think Gane was 2 fights away and a year away.
I feel you, but I feel like the heavyweights have a little bit more leniency because there's not as many. There's not as many. I mean, especially in that, like the way that
knocked out. Once you get knocked out, your rankings drop.
Especially in the heavyweight division, bro.
Yeah, heavyweight gets knocked out. Exactly.
Those are nasty knockouts.
So 100%. So once like I said, once Ngannou won against Stipe, it was clear that Derek Lewis was the next person. Not only because he was on a knockout streak, but because he was one of the only ones that actually beat Ngannou, even though it was early on. So everyone thought Lewis was pretty much next. But like I said, that didn't pan out. And they let your boy 9-0 Cyril Gane step in. And once I seen Cyril Gane, I knew Cyril Gane was going to beat him. And I ain't going to lie, I'm like, damn, after that, it's going to be Gane versus Ngannou. I'm just not going to think about that for now. And we brought up, you talked about it personally, and I brought up a couple episodes. Like, we're going to talk about that eventually. But I don't want to think about that. And the reason why
we did talk about it in an episode, real quick though. We did talk about it in an episode. We did discuss it, just like for a quick minute or two. We did actually, look at Gane's projection and see him. We did say one day he's going to be a champion. We both did. I do remember that. Once he had that fight with Lewis, we did the recap. I do remember we both said he will be a champion one day. And is this his chance?
I think it is. And that's the problem why from the second Gane got the Lewis fight, I didn't want to think about Gane versus Ngannou because I knew if once I finally started really thinking about it, I was going to eventually have to bet against Ngannou. And I didn't want to admit that at that time. So once we got closer and closer, I'm like, damn it, I'm really going to have to sit there and just really, me, do my research, figure out cause I know who I'm going to like, but like, I knew I was gonna like Gane over Ngannou just for the simple fact he has so much more. As long as he can, and I'll be honest, I think he's gonna win by decision.
Oh wow, a five-round decision fight in a heavyweight matchup.
Ngannou is gonna gas out, and by round 3, Gane's gonna do the same thing he did with Derek Lewis. Kickbox him, pick and choose, be technical. Now, as long as he and I hear the thing. I think that Gane's gonna actually they're gonna get some grappling and wrestling going. That's right. Gane actually has an advantage there, and he should do that.
Yep.
And that will tire. As I said, they're gonna tire both of them out. But I don't think. I'll be honest. It might be a knockout, but I think Ngannou just learned so much the last 2 years. He's not gonna try to go out there and do too much unless he get desperate. And at that point, I think Gane is too smart to risk getting stupid to try to knock him out if he's already ahead in the scorecards and he's seen Ngannou's tired. He's gonna just let Ngannou. He's gonna keep doing what he's doing for another round or two and win that belt because he don't care about the knockout. That's why Gane is the only heavyweight who 100% the knockout is not even on his. It's not even on his itinerary. Other heavyweights they love that knockout. He don't care. He will submit you. He will outpoint you. He will kick you to death. Like it don't matter. So as long as he can,
about that, he loves winning in different ways.
He don't care because he don't care. He knew he won. He knew he had to go up against Derek Lewis and stop Derek Lewis from punching him with that right. So he pretty much did what he did, which a lot of people consider a boring fight for 5 rounds or 3 rounds. because they didn't see heavyweights throw fireworks because he wasn't allowed the biggest firework in the heavyweight division to get off fireworks. He knew better. And he's gonna know better against Ngannou. So as long as he can keep the smart exchanges or the exchanges smart, they could exchange some grappling. As long as he don't get caught. If he does get caught, I think it's gonna be within those grappling. Ngannou might catch him with something and there. But if he can be smart with those exchanges, get a couple of takedowns. He at the end of the day, Cyril Gane is the hardest person to knock out in the heavyweight division because of the game style he plays. He's not going to let you just knock him out. And now you might think about that. It's not. I'm not saying he got the hardest chin. He's the hardest heavyweight to knock out.
I mean, just because you haven't seen it, that doesn't mean that it can't happen.
Just because you haven't seen it, doesn't. I understand that.
I mean, but he is undefeated. I agree with you.
Take the top heavyweight knockout and top knockout person in UFC history, and he pretty much looked like a B leaguer against Cyril Gane. And obviously, I'll be honest, I don't think that he will look like a B leaguer against Ngannou because, like I said, Ngannou's the type of person where he might be smart, he might still be prone to like, hey, well, go with that exchange a little while, know. So we'll see. But I got Gane going as decision right now. I think he's just outpoints and outsmarts the champion, and we got a new heavyweight champion in Cyril Gane, baby. And that's what I got. So, yeah.
That's crazy.
It was a tough decision. Such a tough decision, man. But
no, I bet. And it's a great analysis on your part, though, honestly. But I'm just going to have to honestly disagree with you on a few of your points, to be honest. I mean, definitely great analysis about Gane. I do think you are right about a few things about him, but the part about him, I don't think that we're sure about if he once he gets hit really bad, if he can get knocked out or not. Because I think that just because we haven't seen it doesn't mean
the hard to knock out because he doesn't get hit really bad.
I do agree that he's fat. Like, he's one of the fastest heavyweights that we've ever seen. I will agree with you there, other than maybe if a guy like John Jones goes into that heavyweight division. But I do think that Cyril Gane is definitely one of the fastest. Here's where I disagree with you. You said this is going to go to decision. Ngannou has never had a fight go to decision. Ngannou's fights have been 75% knockouts, 25% submissions. He's never had a fight go to decision. So you're telling me this is going to be his first fight to go to decision? I think that Ngannou has learned so much in the last 3 years to take into this fight. I do think that looking at Cyril Gane, he is definitely one of the guys that has come up so fast with so much talent. Obviously, beat guys that a lot of people didn't think he could beat. I mean, even Lewis, he definitely wasn't the favorite for that fight. I think Lewis was the favorite. Right. And I do think that a lot of people were going in Lewis's direction just because of that knockout power. Both of us, I do believe both of us went with Gane because we both looked at Gane and we just saw how much faster he was. We saw that he was, the better projected fighter. Obviously, he's a lot younger than Lewis, and now fighting Ngannou is a different animal. I think Ngannou has learned so much. First of all, defense. He's learned wrestling, and I do think that Ngannou's wrestling is what actually puts him ahead of the game in this fight. You definitely talked a lot about Gane's wrestling, and Gane's, his submissions are on par with some of the best heavyweights. Like, if you look at heavyweights, percentages of submissions, how many they would get in fights, Cyril Gane is up there with like some of the top best.
He got 7 fights in the UFC, or 10 fights altogether, 4 knockouts, 3 submissions.
Right. So he's definitely up there. For heavyweight, if you look at heavyweights, he's definitely up there for. A lot of heavyweights are mostly either decisions or knockouts. But
it's mostly knockouts, honestly.
Mostly. I would say like 75%. But here's the thing, man. My man Ngannou has worked on his wrestling in the last 2 years so much better. He's gotten so much faster. I will say this real quick. I do think maybe if I say maybe I'm talking about him a little biased because he is probably my favorite UFC fighter other than John Bones Jones and Anderson Silva. I do believe that Francis Ngannou is one of the most talented fighters I've ever seen. But back to the analysis, just because I'm saying that doesn't mean that I'm not seeing how much how much power that Gane has and how much like his projection as well. Like looking at Gane, he's probably one of the most. I've already said he's one of the fastest heavyweights, but I think he's definitely one of the most talented heavyweights. That he has so much in different areas. You know, he can get on the ground. He can also stand up. He watches those foot kicks. You know, those ankle kicks. He definitely watches those. But I do think that Ngannou's wrestling is gonna get him out of this out of a lot of situations in this fight. I think if it does get a little bit too close, he's gonna try to either push him back with a with a nice, not a takedown, but a tackle attempt, and then they're gonna hold each other for a little bit, and that's gonna keep guys at bay where the ref is gonna come in and push him back. I think Ngannou in this fight, man, he's learned so much in the last 3 years. Ngannou has been waiting for a moment like this. You know, he wanted to be a champion for so long, and I think he's going to want to keep it for a little bit longer. He's waiting for that Africa UFC, and he's just going to wait just a little bit longer in this one. I think in this fight, if I was to look at any other heavyweight against Cyril Gane, I would say Cyril Gane. But just the way Ngannou's been fighting, and honestly, I do think that a lot of it is recency bias from fans, or from from the Vegas, because fans are looking at Ngannou as the winner, but Vegas is looking at recency bias, and Ngannou hasn't fought since March. So a lot of it is you're looking at him 8 months ago. What is he now? I think that his talent outweighs everything else. He's learned so much in the UFC, and he's just getting better. This is his last fight, and I think he's gonna want to like show out in a, especially a fight like this. 270. This is UFC's been around for 25 years now. This is an anniversary for them as well, so it's huge. I think he definitely wants to show out in this fight, and I got this fight as a knockout for my man Francis Ngannou, and both of these co-championships, they're going to end quickly, and I think this knockout is going to happen actually in the 4th round. I think it's going to happen in the 4th round.
That's wild. So the first flyweight title, I got the champ keeping his belt. You got the contender getting his belt back.
I believe.
And for the heavyweight, I got the interim champ becoming the champ. And you pretty much got the champ keeping his belt.
I can't believe that we both disagree. I really
thought on both fights. I thought we would have got at least one. Yeah.
We thought so too.
I knew you were going to pick Francis. I thought you would have picked Brandon.
Right. I mean, I'm gonna give it to Moreno. He's definitely one of the best Mexican champions Mexican fighters that we've seen, and now Mexican champion. But I do think styles will definitely clash, and but in this Ngannou fight, man, I think Ngannou he's got another level that he's not showed people yet. And even though, it's Cyril Gane is early in his UFC career, I think that Ngannou's early in his career too. I think that when he got into the UFC and got those losses, I think that was just too early, and he didn't have enough skill yet. Whereas Cyril Gane, he's been fighting his whole life. My man was, obviously he was a security guard, he was a trainer, he was, he's been fighting his whole life, so he knows, his ways around, everything, and he used to be a wrestler as well. But a guy like Ngannou coming in from Africa, trying to get his way into France 6 different times, on a boat, trying to get in from the border from Africa to all the way up to France, and then getting denied 6 times, finally making it into France and going into his first gym when he was like, this was just like 5-6 years ago. I'm talking about Francis, and finally getting into a gym, and then moving here like 5 years ago and getting into the UFC just about 4 years ago. So for him to learn everything he has, I think that his projection is still going on this direction. It's not like he's not like he's peaked. I think he's still going up.
No, 100%. And obviously, you got 2 exciting fighters at the top of the heavyweight division, whichever one wins. So here's the thing: I think whoever wins is gonna get an immediate rematch.
That's gonna be interesting though, for me. That's gonna be interesting for me, man. I don't know about that.
It has to. It's hard for the heavyweight division, but here's the thing.
Yeah.
You let Stipe fight Daniel Cormier twice.
Yeah, true.
You know what I'm saying? You
Yeah,
let
Moreno
Stipe fight Francis
We're
again.
talking about a fourth Moreno fight, Moreno Figueiredo already.
Exactly.
Third, so
I don't care who wins, Francis or Cyril. They rematch.
here's the thing: only way I say that doesn't happen is if John Jones
Stipe's
is inside.
no,
Then
that's John Jones, but John Jones not coming back for another.
I don't think he is.
Yeah.
Now that I'm looking at things, maybe you know what? There's a few
End of this
birds
year,
chirping.
maybe.
There's a few birds chirping that they're talking about. Him maybe next. The end of this year, but we'll see.
End of this year, maybe. But at this point, they have to immediate rematch because Stipe is third after Cyril. I don't think Stipe gets immediate shot again.
Not at all. Not in Ngannou, especially if Ngannou wins. Not at all in Ngannou.
And I don't even think he's been fighting for the belt for like 4 years at this point. Like, let something, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Every
between
time.
him, Nagano, and Cormier, it's been him all the time. Derek Lewis ain't gonna get a shot at neither one of them. He might get a shot at Nagano again if Nagano win. I think coming up soon is Curtis Blades. Curtis Blades was a good wrestler and was Nagano's biggest trouble. He knocked out Rosenstruck. Not knocked out. He had a decision against Rosenstruck and Volkov, and then the only loss recently is against Lewis. He got knocked out. So I think he's up there.
So I got
him and Rosenstruck. So we'll see.
I got a quick theory too for you, and I want to see what you think about this one. Because obviously this is his last fight on on the UFC contract. Ngannou, Ngannou, I'm talking about. Let's say that obviously if he wins, I do believe that Dana keeps him under contract. He's not leaving because he has to. He has to if he's a champion. He has to stay under contract if he's a champion. But let's say he loses. Do you think there's a possibility? There's been talk about this out there. Do you think there's a possibility he ever fights Tyson Fury versus Ngannou in a boxing match? I think Fury would destroy Ngannou in a boxing match, but is there a possibility?
Whoop his ass.
I do. I mean, do they actually?
If he decides he's done with the fight game, like if he decides him and Dana can't agree on money, he knows he can go get one payday with the boxing match against Fury, and he'll be good.
Right. So it's
will Fury take it? 100%.
Right.
Fury will honestly even make sure that he's commissioned.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think that it's a
so that way it counts as a record. It's a possibility, but I don't think he should because he'll get his ass whooped.
No. I totally agree with you right there. I think
I'll be honest. He'll get his ass whooped by Anthony Joshua. He'll get his ass whooped by Deontay Wilder. He'll get his ass whooped by all of them.
Yeah, even Ruiz, of course.
Ruiz will knock his ass out.
But here's the thing. I mean, it would still be a draw.
No, 100%, and that's a bigger draw than he ever had, and that's why he'll do it.
Right.
And that's why Ngannou will do it, and obviously Fury wouldn't care.
Yeah.
It's an easy win, so he'll do it too. Yeah, 100%.
That would be interesting though. But I mean, that's looking ahead, and this fight right here. I mean, the Ngannou game fight is just going to be incredible.
Ngannou got to keep the belt first.
Yeah, I think it's going to be incredible for me. I think this is going to be one of the best heavyweights that we've seen. I do think both these guys are definitely gonna show what they got, and even if whoever loses, I do think that they both stay in the UFC. Just for me, and I think that most likely, unless John Jones comes in, you're probably right that they fight again.
100%. I think so.
But great to talk about this UFC matchup. This UFC 270, we have two great co-main championship events, and I definitely want to throw like just a little honorable mention for Nurmagomedov is fighting this weekend. I do want to see him. He's in the he's in the interim crown, and he's undefeated too, but he's moving up in the ranks quietly, and obviously who he's training with. Obviously
the Russian. I think he got one of the main cards. So we'll definitely see what he has to offer.
So we'll definitely see what he has to offer. Just a quick honorable mention.
I think anyone with that last name or anyone with that campus is getting a straight rocket to the top.
Right. I mean, he's undefeated though, so he definitely is moving up fast. And definitely. But we're definitely focusing on these two fights this episode, and it was great to talk to you about it too. Get your insight about this, and we really appreciate you guys listening to us about this UFC 270. And if you guys want to watch this episode, check us out on YouTube or wherever you get your social media. And if you want to listen to us, check us out where you get your podcasts. We're everywhere. If you got any questions on social media, you can definitely ask us.
No, 100%. You know how we do. We love the We love the comments. We love the interaction. We try to be there for all our fans. Let us know what you want. You know what we're here for: NBA, NFL, UFC, boxing, man. All of it. We love it all. We got to get a couple more opinion or debate episodes with these
Sure,
UFC.
we'll get a few more.
We'll do a few. We'll find a way to get those. But hey, they keep us busy with one event a month. So
I mean, for sure. I think once we do this this next recap after this episode, we'll see what happens this weekend. It's gonna be a great fight weekend, but after this fight weekend, we can definitely look ahead and we can definitely do a Who You Got episode. I would love to do a little episode on UFC, especially. So, great doing this episode, and we appreciate you guys listening in to another episode of Who You Got with
MELO
and RADO, and we'll see you guys next time. Peace.
Peace.